Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Now, before this episode kicks off, I'm giving you guys a bit of a heads up here. Due to circumstances out of our control, this episode was previously filmed at AmFest, and unfortunately, they moved Media Row inside the exhibitor hall under a really loud speaker. So that caused us a bit of a challenge with the audio, but please hang in there with us. Give it a listen because this episode is filled with an amazing guest with a lot of interesting things to say. And if you wouldn't mind giving it a like, giving it a comment, and giving it a share, that would just really help us continue to bring even more interesting people on and help them share their messages. Thank you so much. Dillion England himself. Dillion, you're not used to being on this side of the camera,
I'm fidgeting,
right?
I'm nervous, and I'm sweating. This is awesome. I love it.
So great. I love it. We're just switching roles here today,
exactly.
and I love that. Hey, why did you want to start a podcast?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I'm questioning that every day now. No, just kidding. So I actually work with business owners for my real job, and I learned that every entrepreneur had a real story. So I live in Metro Detroit, and I was like, all these people are awesome. Like they're real entrepreneurs. They get the grit, and they're not afraid to just be honest. A lot of times on the internet, you see like Lamborghinis, and you see this like glitz and glam of entrepreneurship that's not real.
Right.
Like 70% of new businesses don't make it past year 3. So
past year 1.
Right. So then it's like, that's the reality.
Yeah.
And so I started the show trying to give an idea of an insight of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Then God keeps shoving me more and more into current events and politics. We had Brandon Tatum on the show, Babylon Bee guys on the show.
Okay.
And now we're at AmFest a year later.
Yeah.
And
well, you've only been doing your show for like a year, and you already have over 1 million views on YouTube. That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean,
that really is, because the podcasting world is a very saturated market.
Yeah.
So how do you differentiate yourself? What kind of tactics and strategies do you use to make your show stand out or to be different?
Yeah, I'm going to sound really cliche because I think every podcaster it's their goal, but Joe Rogan has been the #1 goal of a show to model after, because what Joe Rogan does is he has people on that he is personally interested in.
Exactly.
And then he doesn't script his questions. He has real and authentic conversations.
Yeah.
And so I said, whatever we do, they're going to be as ever long they are, but I'm going to be interested in the person.
Yep.
I'm not going to script my questions, and I'm going to ask real and authentic questions, and we're not going to be afraid to tackle things.
As I sit here with my scripted
unpopular
questions that we'll probably not even get to at all, because you know what? But it's interesting. These kind of events are very interesting when you're doing these really quick hits, and you may have people pop in that well, you don't know if they're interesting. You actually don't know anything about them. so you got to ask questions like in a really fast way. But I haven't that yet.
No.
I haven't run into anybody who can't talk on camera, who doesn't want to share. Everyone is so passionate about what they're doing and their mission and all that. So if you could pick one of your topics that you've been talking about on your show, is there something that you really are more passionate and you want to talk about? Or are you just open to letting the conversations flow wherever they may?
Yeah, literally, I interview interesting people, experts and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So if someone's interesting, has an interesting story, I talk. I will say one of the things I'm passionate about, which is where this whole relationship with Parler, and Parler reached out, and I've been talking to KJ, just lovely. Also, shout out Parler, guys, play TV. Get it? It's gonna be awesome.
Get it.
But what I love about Parler is on my shows, I'm not afraid to ask questions that are uncomfortable and just have authentic, real conversations. So I think we live in a world where actually you're frowned upon to ask questions.
Sure.
You're told what to think. And if you don't think within a certain box, you get ostracized, you get canceled, you get shoved off of platforms.
Yeah.
And so creating a safe space where my slogan for the show is smart people ask dumb questions. Asking simple questions to get to the bottom of things, and be okay with asking questions that people might be like, ooh, I don't know if we should ask that, or covering those.
Don't you ever run into guests, though? A lot of times when people come on with a very curated, pretty boxed brand image, when you ask them a question that they haven't been asked yet, has it ever thrown anybody off?
Yes,
They can't answer?
I've had multiple times people have asked me to edit things out of the podcast because I had one guy on, for example, I asked him a question about DEI and how he handled it, but he's on a board and he's a lovely guy. He answered it. He texted me back later. He's like, hey man, I represent like 1,000 companies.
I can't give my personal opinion.
I can't give my personal opinion. And it's a sad thing in this nation where you're not allowed to just give your opinion. And if you do, you could be fired, you could lose your job, you could lose those things.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm really passionate about, is just having those conversations and having a free space to be able to do those.
Getting back to a place where it's normal.
Yeah, normal to disagree.
Yeah.
Where it's okay to disagree.
Yeah.
Where it's a normal thing to be like, I hear you, I'm listening, I don't agree, but we're still going to go hang out after this.
Exactly. I actually remember those days. I actually remember the days where I could sit around the campfire with my friends out in California. I mean, I've been in the entertainment industry for a very long time, and I obviously have very different opinions and belief systems. And it used to be okay.
Yes.
We could have these conversations, and just like you said, after we actually had a discussion about it, and I hear you out, you hear me out. Cool. We may not agree on it at the end of this conversation, but let's go grab a drink. Let's go eat.
We had a lady walk up to our booth yesterday, and she said, "I've been a lifelong Democrat." She's wearing a MAGA hat, and I'm like, "Well, you're not a Democrat now." She's like, "I was Maine blue. I was like I think her name's Lisa," and she's like, "I was like running in Democratic prime, doing all this kind of stuff, right?" And she said, all it took was me to have a real conversation with a conservative, someone to listen to me. And she's like, now I'm the most conservative, bleeding red person you're ever going to meet because we actually had a conversation. Because all of the programming and the propaganda that she heard about the conservative movement isn't true.
Well, that's one of the negative things I think about social media is that people have lost the ability to actually discuss. Like you have something that's in between you. We don't take the time to go and have lunch with people anymore, but all it is someone yelling or spouting their quick opinion to you. They don't think about how it might affect the person that they just commented on because they leave it and go to the next thing. And so we have lost this art of discussion, which is, I think, leading us down a pathway that's really destructive in so many ways to relationships. And we don't know how to have deep relationships with people anymore, especially not with people that we disagree with.
Yes.
And how important is it, though, to have people in your life that you don't agree with on every single thing?
And that's the goal of the show. And so if people log in, we've been blessed to have people like Brandon Tatum, people from the Babylon Bee, and just really, really awesome, kind guests. And you might not always love the content, but you can guarantee it's going to be real. It's going to be authentic. And so that's the niche, and that's kind of where we're going.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how do you measure success for your show?
That's a really good question. I have no idea. No, I'm kidding. So I think it's Trevor's off camera. He's over there. He's one of my producers and best friends. And success to me is every episode getting a little bit better, because you can get so wrapped into the analytics and the numbers, and it actually comes discouraging. Podcasters, if you're starting a podcast, when you start and all you do is look at your analytics, you're gonna quit by episode 10.
Or you're gonna conform what you're doing to the trends of the day.
And you're not gonna be you. And so getting a little bit better every single episode, and then trying to chase some guests that are maybe a little bit out of my reach right now, and being consistent, and then landing
who's your ideal guest?
Elon Musk, Jordan Peterson, Michael Knowles. Those guys would be absolutely awesome. Obviously, I'd love to interview President Trump. I mean, we're talking dream level. That'd be absolutely incredible. But those guys have meant a lot in my life, and I'd love to talk to them one day, for sure.
If you could give any advice to any future or fellow podcasters that are wanting to get into what you're doing, what is the best advice that you could give them?
90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 10. So if
it's hard.
So if you're going to start a podcast, make a promise to yourself. You're going to make 50 episodes before you quit. Make 50 episodes before you quit. Your 50th episode, when you look back to your first episode, you are going to be better in every single way. And actually, most podcasts that make it, it's not their first one that they started. A lot of podcasters started 3 podcasts before they made it on their 4th one.
Wow.
And then be passionate about it.
Yeah.
Whatever you're gonna do, don't do the trends game. Don't be like, I'm gonna go and twerk in the corner, and that's just not sustainable. That's not you. So whatever you're doing, be passionate about what you're doing. And if you're passionate about it, you believe in it, and you're consistent, generally good things slowly start happening.
That is wonderful advice. Where can everybody find you on all the platforms?
Yeah, so my biggest following is on YouTube, Dillion England, and then everything else is at I'm Dillion England on X, Parler, Instagram. So at I'm Dillion England, you can follow me there, and enjoy the journey.
Thank you so much. I've had a wonderful time at America Fest, and I have absolutely no doubt that you're going to get those guests one day.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. All right, thank you.